Alright, welcome everyone. Whether you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, I'm going to quickly discuss the Civ tier list for N4C. For those that are not aware, there was a big, I think, first land tournament in Age of Empires 4, which your boy managed to win. And this is kind of my tier list for the tournament, for the current meta, but also this is heavily influenced by my discussions with the other players there. So even though it's like my Civ tier list, the top 8 players that were there will share this opinion for the most part, and where it kind of strays away, I will talk about it and I will mention it, obviously. We saw a lot of games at M4C, we saw a lot of good quality games. We also saw us using special rules in the tournament. For those that are not aware, we were not allowed to use stone walls in feudal and stone towers, and you weren't allowed to research herbal medicine with Delhi because it was like OP as hell. So those are the special rules that we've had, and every player agreed it was amazing having those, and that's something I really wish that maybe devs look into or find a counter to stone walls in feudal age. With that being said, due to no one's surprise, Delhi is the best Civ right now by far. It's not even close. Also, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, this Civ list or Civ tier list that I'm making is for the maps that were used at the tournament. So not the ladder maps, but these are the maps that were used at the tournament, and those maps are Dry Arabia, Lipani, Highview, King of the Hill, Mongolian Heights, Hill and Dale, and Altai, right? So those 7 maps. So this Civ tier list is for those 7 maps. Just want to make sure that's out there, because some people might be like, what about French Pass or Mountain Pass? We didn't play those maps in the tournament. And moving onwards, Golden League will, I think, use the same maps, so French Pass and Mountain Pass kind of irrelevant. So anyway, Delhi is the best Civ right now. They just have way too many things going for them. There are some good changes coming to them, but right now and at the tournament, they were considered the best Civ by far. A lot of people were not sure at the tournament which Civ is actually going to be the best. So in the first 2 days, we've seen half the people ban Mongol, half the people ban Delhi. And then kind of by the 3rd day, everyone's like, okay, Delhi is actually busted and the most OP Civ. So I don't remember the exact stats, but out of like 100 bans, let's say, in the tournament, 85 were Delhi. Which, is pretty indicative that it's just an OP Civ. Why is it OP? I mean, it gets everything for free, and as long as you force the trades with the opponent, you will be ahead because you will have eco upgrades and they won't. And if they do go for eco upgrades, they're going to have less units because you're getting those things for free. And one big thing that I have mentioned to the developers is, I think the biggest issue with Delhi and Abbasid being strong is the fact that berries, when you put a mill, they get a bonus 250 food, which is a lot, and that doesn't force Delhi or Abbasid to go out on the map and get berries, but instead they can have safe food while you are kind of starving and you gotta go on the map, and they're just kind of like getting food for free. So it's best Civ by far. Any matchup, any map, I would pick Delhi, and everyone else at the tournament would pick Delhi over any Civ. So next Civ that is extremely good in my opinion is Abbasid. I think Abbasid is also S tier Civ. It's a bit worse than Delhi, so maybe it should deserve A rank. We'll see, we'll readjust. But Abbasid is incredibly strong and is probably the 2nd best Civ right now. The reason for that is kind of similar to Delhi, to be honest. It gets a 2nd TC that is extremely hard to prevent, so that's unlike Delhi. But what kind of ties them together is the berries that I just mentioned. Abbasid can trade in feudal while slowly getting to castle and having safe food. So that is something that makes both of these Civs too strong, and I think if that gets changed, we're going to see a little bit of a balance in both of these 2 Civs. And another thing that makes Abbasid strong, and probably the strongest thing about Abbasid, is being able to make siege on the field the moment you hit castle. So there's so many timings where people go double TC, fast castle after that, and then just kind of print units and build like mangonels, springles in front of your opponent's base, and it just kill the opponent. So Abbasid is incredibly strong Civ. I would say The problem with like Delhi is good against everything, but I think Abbasid hard counters a lot of civs. Like Delhi beats Abbasid because they get shit for free, but Abbasid I feel like hard counters French, it hard counters Chinese, it hard counters Mongols. It's really good against HRE, it's good against Rus, it's good against English. It doesn't really have a bad matchup except Delhi. That's why it's S tier, but slightly behind Delhi because of it. The reason why it counters these civs is because those civs, French and Mongol specifically, play on aggression and English. And it's very hard to put any pressure on Abbasid at the top level because players will know how to defend well. So, yeah. And the reason why it counters China is if you look at my game against Vortex in semifinals of N4C, if you both boom, I go castle, Chinese player goes castle, I can just mass siege in front of their base, and even though China has better siege, the numbers aren't there. So yeah, Abbasid's really good, and we already know that Abbasid will be getting a big nerf. So siege creation on the field for Mangonel and Springald will go from 30-second build time to 80. So that is quite a big nerf, and it's very much needed. So again, this civ tier list is for now, not for the next patch. Next civ, I'm just without a doubt, HRE is extremely strong civ, and by many players at M4C. So the first two civs, by the way, are no doubt. Like every player at M4C agreed on that. Like no one is like, oh, maybe Abbasid is not that good. Everyone thinks that's the case. Now, this is where I would say probably like 6 out of 8 players, maybe even 7, will agree, maybe even all of them, to be honest, that HRE is the 3rd best civ right now in the game. It's incredibly powerful, and there are many reasons for it. You know something's really good when you know what the opponent's gonna do, and it's still hard to prevent it, and then if you don't prevent it, you lose the game. HRE, you know they're gonna want to go castle and get relics, but it's so hard to stop it when a good player does it. It's so hard to stop it. And if you stay in feudal for long and you try to prevent them in castle getting relics, if you fail, you're just so far behind. And once those relics get into cathedral, they just have so much economy. It's insane. If they get to imperial, which is very easy with HRE, I think in the tournament I had a 10 minute and 20 imperial, or 10 minute and 30. I think I started it at that time, which it's just so fast. Like, it's crazy. And then you have the printer, aka Palace of Swabia, a just extremely strong civ. We've even seen, before the tournament I was practicing with Marine Lord, and we've been practicing HRE on the land maps, aka open maps, because it was considered very bad, but we have played it on those, and while it is a bit harder to pull off HRE, I think it is still viable. And I think that was the biggest downside of HRE, the fact that it was unusable on some maps, or most maps. But now Hillendale is best map for HRE. Altai, I was picking HRE in the tournament to counter Chinese there, or Abbasid, so that became a decent map for it. Mongolian Heights is a good map for HRE as well, because it allows incredibly fast boom to castle and then imperial. And then on open maps, it's an okay civ. It's not the best civ, but it's an okay civ. So it's really strong. I don't know what else to say. All right. Now this is where the line kind of gets blurry right now. I would say these 3 civs are quite far ahead from the other ones. And those 3 civs are considered the good civs. And the other civs are, I would say, player dependent. At M4C, we had a lot of discussions which civs are, the best, which, or, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever. And this is where a lot of players' opinions and play styles come in hand. I'll give you guys an example. Mista is probably the best English player right now. The way he plays English, I think, is correct. If you ask Mista, he would probably put English in B tier, maybe even A tier. But most players would put it in F tier because they don't know how to play it. I think I'm okay with English, but I'm not that great with it. So this is where, like I said, the opinions will differentiate. So I'm gonna just letting you guys know from here on out, it's kind of my opinion. Before that, it was universally agreed at N4C about these civs. I'm gonna put Mongols at B tier. I think Mongols extremely underperformed at N4C. I don't know if you guys are aware, maybe you're not, but N4C, at N4C, Mongols had the lowest win rate out of any civ. This is the N4C win rates for the whole tournament, for including group stage and playoffs. Mongols had 38% win rate, which is terrible. Look at the win rates: 1-4, 3-4, 3-3, 1-3, 2-2, 2-2, 1. I mean, I actually lost the most game with Mongols. And I thought my Mongols was decent going into it. The first 2 rounds, people banned Mongols against me. Which I'm going to talk about win rates a little bit as well. But I do think that people at the tournament did play Mongols wrong. I think we all arrived with the opinion that Mongol is probably second best civ. And kind of as we played more and more, we discovered that Mongol has some really good counters. And we kind of like, we've talked about this at the tournament, but I genuinely feel like that 8 of us at the tournament pushed the meta by like month or month and a half. In terms of which civs are good against which civs are good against which map. Like every day we would be discussing counters and civs and playstyles, and every day we would come to a new conclusion and kind of push the barrier a little bit more. And what I mean by pushing the meta by month and a half is if we didn't have the tournament, we would find out these things a month or a month and a half from now, assuming there were no balance changes. So I do think people are playing Mongol wrong in terms of we're playing it how it used to be played. If you want to see a very, very good playstyle, I would suggest watching Recon. I think what he is doing is probably the best style by far. And I did a couple of practice games against Recon's Mongol and I lost. I genuinely think that him playing Mongols versus anyone at the M4C tournament, he would probably have won. You know, the Mongol match, I'm not going to say the whole tournament. So I do think that Mongol is now up in the air, and you know, right now I would say it's B tier, but it might go up, might go down, depending on what people figure out. But the way we're doing it now, it ain't it, chief. So yeah, I would say Mongol is B tier. I think Rus is honestly extremely weak civ. Probably the worst civ right now. And the reason for that is Rus is amazing on Mongolian heights. It's the best civ by far on Mongolian heights, and we know that Rus is incredibly strong on hybrid maps, but the map pool that we used has no hybrid maps except one, and all the other maps, like, it's just bad. I don't know how else to say it. It's just bad. Like, if you compare to these civs, Delhi will never lose to Rus. Abbasid will absolutely destroy Rus, which you saw in the final against Lenok. Like, it was so one-sided. HRE will clap Rus really bad. Mongols, I think, will beat Rus as well. It's just not a great civ. Can you win with it? Of course. Like, any civ can beat any civ, right? But I just don't think it's a good civ. Rus late game is obviously really strong, but that's getting nerfed in the next patch. I don't know if you guys saw the Springald is getting less range from the upgrade, so it's not going to have like an insane range, which probably needed to be nerfed, but I just don't think it's a good civ. Like, every civ has something going for them. I don't know what Rus is going for them. That's my genuine opinion. Worst civ on the tier list, but second highest win rate in N4C. Can you say something about that? Yeah, of course. So Rus, as you can see, has the second highest win rate. And the reason for that is, let's look. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Let's see what else. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. That's why. We see Rus lost here. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Mongolian Heights, Rus, win. Mongolian Heights, Rus lost. Mongolian Heights, China versus China. Mongolian Heights, Rus win. He took. He bought it. So, yeah. Basically, all the wins except, I think, 2 Vortex's wins on land were on Mongolian Heights for Rus. Like, that was everyone's go-to pick. And like I said, you know, Rus is extremely strong on Mongolian Heights and extremely strong on hybrid maps, but the hybrid maps are nowhere to be seen in this tournament, which that's why when you look at statistics like this, you have to look why that is. You can't just say like, man, Rus second highest win rate, they're really good. They're not. So yeah, why is it like that? Like I said, they have nothing going for them. Every civ on land map has some kind of bonus, some kind of playstyle. The only thing that Rus has is like an option to buy resources at a more convenient price and build a tower that gives you more wood income, but that's it. Their knights suck compared to French knights. Their archers are nothing special. There's not much there to go from. Again, that doesn't mean that it's a terrible civ you can win with it. It just means that it's not good. Was there a reason Mongolian Heights was chosen as the hybrid map and not Danube? Yes. Danube has way too much RNG spawns in regards to fishes. If the TC would spawn too close to the water, the fishes would not spawn. So that was a big problem. Look at Doga. She's like booping my hand. She's like, pet me more. So yeah, that's just how it is. Next. I'm gonna put French in B tier. Probably ahead from Mongols. What I didn't know until after the tournament was done is that French was actually my most played civ, and at the tournament I played French in every single series except one, and I think that was because the series ended 3-0 for me, or 3-1, so I didn't get to play French, but I played French in every single route other than that. French had a 50% win rate, and I think this is kind of skewed. I do think French is maybe a bit better than that, but maybe it's right on point. I'm not sure. And the reason for me putting French in B tier, I think French is somehow turned into a counter to Mongols. I don't know how this happened, but Mongols' most losses to players playing Mongols was actually to French. And when we started the tournament, we thought that Mongols counter French, but it turned out that it's the opposite, or at least it was the opposite at the tournament. So I think French has great aggro potential. Obviously, it has awful late game. It's not good in Mongolian Heights, but it's very good on open maps. You can always put pressure on the opponent. If you guys watched the tournament, you saw me doing the strategy on King of the Hill, where I had very, very high win rate with it. And what my strategy was, harass, get fast castle, put a keep on the middle, and go for sacred site. And I won, I think, every single game I went for that strategy. And I was so confident in the strategy that I just picked it, even though I knew players are gonna know that I'm gonna pick it, because it just worked. So yeah, King of the Hill is the best map for French, and probably French is the best civ on that map. So yeah, I think it's overall, it's a decent civ. Like, French is the kind of civ that I don't think it's terrible, I don't think it's amazing, I just think it's a well-balanced, good civ. Like, sometimes players wouldn't know what to pick, so they would just pick French. It doesn't really have terrible maps for it. Next. I'm gonna put English in C tier. I do think that it's in a weird spot, but like I said, I think if players play English the way Mista plays it, I think it's a B tier. So if you're looking to learn English the proper way, I would say watch Mista's games from the tournament. He has like a very early farm into macro fast castle build with English, into stables, and I think it's very good. It is difficult to play in my opinion, but without it, it's just not that great of a civ. I do think it still has timings to do like the pushes and stuff, but the longbow spearman shit is kinda outdated at this point. People know how to defend it with every civ. Even with HRE, you can completely stomp on English and defend their pushes. I don't know. I think English needs a buff in Castle Age because their castle landmark is trash. It's basically a TC that sucks. And then the last civ is Chinese. Now this is the weirdest civ for me, and that's why I left it for last. Everyone came into the tournament thinking that Chinese civ is awful, and everyone left the tournament kind of being like, is it a good civ or is it bad civ? And I honestly don't know. China in the group stage, if I'm not mistaken, had like an 80-something% win rate. It was the highest win rate civ. So that's the funny part. For a majority of the tournament, China had the highest win rate and Mongols had the lowest win rate. Now, the Mongol being this low on win rate is because I think people are generally playing it wrong and people will need to relearn. Same with English. But China, I think it lacks a lot. I think palace guards are actually incredibly powerful because you don't need cavalry with Chinese, because palace guards are basically almost as fast as cavalry. The problem with Chinese is it can only be played on like Mongolian heights, maybe Hill and Dale, and then Altai. So initially, it started really well for China. They were getting wins in Altai, they were playing in Mongolian heights, which is why they had a win rate. But then the moment I played HRE on Altai, players started being worried and scared about picking China on Altai, because if HRE gets picked, I think it's a very big counter. And then people started using China on open maps because they didn't want to be predictable by putting it on Altai, because it was kind of universally agreed if you're going to pick China, you pick it on Altai. But that made it predictable. So people started playing China on open maps, and China on open maps just fucking sucks. And I don't think people practice that much China on open maps, and then the win rate just kind of plummeted. I think it was like 10-2, 10-3 initially, and then, or maybe 8-2, 8-3, and then it just went down. So currently, I don't think China is that good. I think it has its benefits, and I do think that after the next patch, where they're doing the dynasty changes and they're nerfing siege creation on field for Abbasid and Mongols, it will be a bit better. But honestly, right now, I'll have to put it at best C tier. Like at best. And it kind of feels bad putting it next to English, because I do think that maybe English is a bit better. But I guess that's fine putting them in the same tier. So yeah, I think this is the final Civ tier list, I would say. Interestingly, Abbasid didn't have that good of a win rate, and the reason for that is there were a lot of, I'm not sure if this win rate thing tracks mirrors, but there were a lot of Abbasid mirrors actually in the game. It does? Okay, yeah, then that makes sense. Because look, like there's an Abbasid mirror, there's an Abbasid mirror, and that's just like on that page. There was a lot of Abbasid plays, I would say. And I would say the first 2 days, Abbasid probably lost the most matches. And then after that, it just kind of went uphill from that. So, oh yeah, you can see mirrors. He played 3 mirrors. Okay, so not as many as I thought. But I think Abbasid lost the most. Like you can see here, L, L, L. Obviously, this is a mirror, mirror, L, L. So, in the 5 matches that it was played, it lost 4 times. And I guess 1 mirror. So I think Abbasid is still incredibly strong Civ. Don't get fooled by the win rates in the tournament, because you see like a lot of the Civs are very, very close. Like if you look, if someone else played Delhi and let's say they lost with them, the Delhi win rate would plummet under Rus. So it's like, is Delhi bad? No. Yeah. So that's my opinion. I think China Boom is still incredibly powerful. Maybe China is F tier. I don't know. I'll probably just put it here. Opinion on China kind of changed over the tournament. People initially thought it was terrible, and then it's kind of, maybe it's good. And then I think 3-4 players there really liked China and thought it was pretty decent. And, another thing is that heavily affects this is the maps, right? If Mountain Pass and French Pass was played in the tournament, then suddenly China would be much better. So we always have to consider the maps as well when talking about this. That's my Civ tier list for the N4C and the current state of the game. I would love to hear your opinion. We're going to discuss this now in Twitch chat. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And obviously when a new patch comes, I will be releasing a Civ tier list for that. After I play a couple of games and see what's what and what's where. And I will be releasing a video with the patch notes. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.